Star Wars Rogue One is out around the world right now, and it is a sensation. Everybody is so curious to find out how the standalone Star Wars movies are going to fare from Disney and Lucasfilm. It's kind of a gamble from this huge conglomerate that's trying to figure out how they're going to extend the Star Wars lore into multiple stories, and I'm happy to report that for the most part, Star Wars Rogue One really delivers. It's a terrific Star Wars film, and it feels very different, and I think that is the best thing that I can say about this movie is how much of a sense of surprise and how much a sense of not really knowing exactly what's going to happen next. You know, I should preface all of my discussion here. I'm not going to spoil stuff. I'm going to do my best to kind of, dance around any sort of plot-specific elements in this thing. Of course, we know what's going to happen at the end of this because, as we all know, this is kind of the direct prequel to A New Hope, the Star Wars film from 1977. It leads up right into the events of what transpires in that movie, and it's a thrilling chase to figure out how these rogues are going to get the plans for the Death Star to take down this omnipresent, awful machine of death that is capable of slaughtering millions of innocent lives in one instant. And we do see a couple of scenes of the Death Star sort of being crafted and put together and also tested. And it is a horrifying guest star in this movie. It's kind of cool that we get to see this familiar throwback, although at this point we've seen the Death Star or similar kinds of installations in so many Star Wars movies that ceases to be a surprise. We also know that Darth Vader is going to make some appearances in this movie because of Star Wars' marketing, so I'm sorry if I'm spoiling that for anybody that has done a great job at avoiding everything out there, but I think it's pretty safe to say that most of you that are watching this know that Darth Vader's in this movie. He's in this movie, and the scenes with Darth Vader are freaking amazing, and I really, really like them. I'm a fan of the actors. I think especially Felicity Jones. She's got the sort of the mantle of carrying this movie as our lead heroine, Jyn Erso, and she's terrific in this role. You feel for her. You feel the sense of virtue that this character has that's buried underneath a lot of suspicion and doubt and concern and self-preservation. All of that stuff is expertly kind of portrayed by this fantastic actor who I'm just really, really happy for right now because she's getting all kinds of great opportunities. And this is something that's really going to put her on the world stage, and I'm excited to see where Rogue One leads for Felicity Jones in her career now because she's terrific in this role. I also am once again charmed by Diego Luna, who is, I think he's pretty charming in almost everything that he's in, but I was a little bit taken aback by how slight his character is, both in sort of plot development and character development of Cassian Andor, this stop-at-nothing rebel soldier that we get to meet and we get to kind of understand early on in the film a little bit. I feel like we could have gone deeper with getting to know this man, but I also thought that he looked, and this is kind of superficial, but he looks so skinny on screen. He looks so thin, I just didn't see him physically being this commanding guy. He just looked kind of scrawny, and I'm sorry to all the Diego Luna fans out there and Mr. Luna himself, but I just couldn't stop thinking about that. He looked like his pants were too big for him, and his jackets were too big for him. He's got some awesome outfits in this thing. That's one thing that they did absolutely nail in this movie is the look of Star Wars, the way that everybody's costumed. The multiple planets that we get to visit are phenomenal. We also have an extensive cast of other supporting characters in here to kind of round up this almost Wild Bunch, Magnificent Seven, Guns of Navarone type feeling adventure tale. Donnie Yen, I think, is probably one of the most famous of these rogues. I was also a little bit disappointed with the fact that Donnie Yen, who is a fantastic martial artist on screen, is once again a fantastic martial artist on screen in Star Wars Rogue One. I mean, I guess that's why they hired the guy, but it just feels a little too on the nose for an actor that we've seen do this kind of work in multiple other titles out there. Lots and lots of screen time has been devoted to this man's prowess, and it felt a little like there was a lack of surprise as to what this guy was going to do when he hits the screen. I was very impressed with Forrest Whitaker, who plays this kind of sage, wizened old warrior that has to kind of impart some great knowledge and great advice to Jyn Erso. I thought his role was fantastic in this movie. I really enjoyed every moment we got on screen with him. I also liked Alan Tudyk's voice as K2SO, the new robotic buddy that we have. I guess he's kind of like a more snide version of C-3PO in this movie. But I was a little disappointed that he didn't get more funny quips and more more charming dialogue. I played the Star Wars X-Wing VR mission, and Tudyk is in there playing K2SO, and just in a little bit of voice narration. We never see the character, but we hear him, and he's so funny in that. I wanted him to be funnier in this movie, and that's something that I would say overall in general with Rogue One, is that it's efficient, it's beautiful, there are lots of fantastic battle sequences, it's got a great sense of rawness, it's got a real sort of reach towards authenticity. I mean, we see children crying as they're watching parents get, mowed down in front of them, which is pretty stark stuff for a Star Wars movie. But we don't get that other side of the Star Wars coin, which has always been that, sort of effusive charm and that sense of humor and that sense of lovableness. The characters are great in here, and they hit touchstones and marks that you feel like, okay, I get this guy, I get this character, I get this person, I dig them, I like their ensemble together, but it doesn't cross over to love. And that, for me at least, I didn't cross over to love these characters, part maybe from Jyn Erso, who I think, obviously carries the movie, but also carries a great sense of value in this movie. I also like Mads Mikkelsen as this very troubled father figure. He's Jyn Erso's father, who has some really tough stuff to deal with in this movie, and he's obviously a fantastic actor and handles all of those scenes wonderfully well. They're very well put together. The scenes between father and daughter are fantastic in this film as well. And Ben Mendelsohn is also another standout as this Imperial officer who has grand ambitions, and he's just evil through and through, and he's chewing up the scenery in there. He's an amazing actor, and I just love that he's in this movie. Aesthetically, this is an incredibly pleasing Star Wars film, and I think it's one that is worthy of repeat viewings. It's a movie that's worth a lot of dissection and sort of rumination, because there's lots of new threads in the Star Wars universe that are sort of granted us in this picture. Lots of new environments that we've never seen before. It's incredible to see AT-ATs and stormtroopers battling on a sort of a jungle setting and a tropical setting. We've never seen anything like that before. And the script is actually really solid as well. You do feel for these characters, and everything moves at a nice clip, and we're bouncing back and forth with into the familiar and things that we've seen echoed from previous Star Wars films into the complete unknown. And sometimes it kind of gave me a sense of the cool directions that the Clone Wars TV series went when we got all those the commandos going off on different missions and stuff. Now, I will say that a couple of CG characters in this movie really stand out, and it's really hard not to look at these CG characters and not see the work that went into them, and it kind of takes you out of the moment and out of the picture. But overall, I think that this is a wonderful Star Wars escape. I think that it fits in with the rest of the movies. I don't think it's as good as the original trilogy. I don't think it's as good as Force Awakens, but I think you're going to have a very good time if you're a Star Wars fan. There is a lot to love in Rogue One. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Hey, thanks for checking out that video on our EPN channel. It's just one small part of the things that we make around here. So if you liked it, don't forget to check out some of our other vids and hit that subscribe button.